All right, everybody, welcome to a YouTube-exclusive clip of Men in Stripes brought to you by StripeHype.com. Tim Daniel here, really excited to be touching on day one of free agency with none other than Mr. Matthew Wilson. Matthew, how we doing, man?
Hey, it's been an exciting day. How are you, Tim?
Good. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. We start the day off right when the new year kicks off for the National Football League, knowing that Marvin Jones signs with the Detroit Lions for a lot of money. Kind of a shock. I've been saying I expected Marvin to come back, but at that dollar amount, I'm okay with the Bengals not matching that offer, not making that deal there. We saw it a lot with wide receivers today. Travis Benjamin got a ton of money from San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Jones obviously getting a ton of money. The wide receiver game was very overpaid today, unless you're Victor Cruz, where you take a pay cut. So what'd you think, man? All the news that came out today, let's start with Marvin Jones here, and we'll kind of work our way down through the news throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin Jones getting $9 million over the first 3 years is definitely hard, but it's something I don't think the Bengals should have matched. Granted, it looks like that was probably the top end of the market. Of course, also coming out to Mohamed Sanu has, I guess, a deal on the table pending his tryout down in Atlanta for $7 million. So, Marvin Jones definitely getting the better of the two deals there, but I'm okay with it. Of course, we've been talking about the potential of losing him anyway. Who's going to come in and James Wright just kind of now, at least for the meantime, slides right into that wide receiver 2 spot, and didn't even think of this, but Rex Burkhead kind of slides into that number 3 spot now, at least until the draft or until they sign somebody.
Yeah, which it looks like right now, Andre Holmes is a name that you keep seeing coming up for the Bengals as a potential fill-in there, which I would like that, honestly. I would like to see if they can do something with Jeremy Curley. I think that could be a really good move for them, too.
That would be a move I'd love.
Yeah, I would be very stoked about that. Definitely shocking there to see what happened with Marvin Jones. Wish him the best over there. I think that he'll do really good things in Detroit. If you look at Detroit's end of this, they're not exactly a team that focuses on running the ball. I mean, their best running back last year had 75 catches. And now you lose Megatron. And No disrespect intended to Marvin Jones by any stretch of the matter, because I think that he'll do big things there. But now your wide receiver duo of Golden Tate and Marvin Jones, you don't exactly have guys that are going over there and jump over people to get the ball. Well, unless, you push them in the back and catch a Hail Mary.
Yeah, that's the big thing. But then again, they did kind of get payback in the form of Green Bay last year.
Yeah.
So. But even then, I mean, Golden Tate is 5'9", 5'10", not really your go up and get the ball type guy. Good hands. Don't by no means are we saying that he's a bad receiver, but definitely they now have 2 wide receiver 2s, and so whether they are truly 2 co-number 1s or you could just call it 2 number 2 wide receivers. Either way, there's nobody defined there at that wide receiver 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look at a guy like Matthew Stafford, who has thrived for years of having Calvin Johnson. What does he do now?
I think he just basically does what he's been doing when Calvin Johnson was out, and that's work with what he's got. I mean, Calvin Johnson missed, I believe he actually missed a few games last year. If not, he definitely missed a few games the year before, and so in 2014. So, he's definitely been in a situation where he didn't have Megatron, but at the same time, he always had that look forward to spot where he knew he was coming back. Now he doesn't. So it's going to be a different atmosphere in that passing game for sure for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, it is. So let's move on real quick, go back to the Bengals. Let's talk about the defensive side. It's where a lot of the news came today. Obviously the news of George Iloka coming back, which makes me very happy. I'm very stoked that that's going to happen. And then you hear Emmanuel Lamers about to sign with Minnesota. And then you hear Reggie Nelson was offered a 2-year contract, and he said no. So the Bengals say they're not going to move forward with Reggie Nelson. And then you start to think, oh man, if those guys are gone, what about Adam Jones? What are they going to do? And we find out tonight he signs a 3-year deal to come back. So I can deal with the loss of Emmanuel Lemire. That's fine with
Absolutely.
me. I feel like, one, P.J. Dawson, I think, is going to be ready to take that role. 2, there is still A.J. Hawk, whatever they decide to do, if they decide to keep him going into after camp or, any time in that frame, honestly. So, yeah, that's fine with me.
Absolutely.
If we had to pick between Iloka and Reggie Nelson, I'm glad they went with Iloka. Obviously, the youth part there, but, he's quickly becoming one of the top players at his position. And I actually just wrote this article, should be, we should see that in the next couple of days, that, there was a nice cushion in that safety thing if we lost one of those guys, but the name is Sean Williams, so he's not going to get his time to shine. And then now Adam Jones, you got to think, man. He was their best corner last year. He did a hell of a job, and that's, filling in those roles, and he was outstanding for this team. He's been outstanding now. He played some of his best football the last couple seasons. The only touchdown he gave up was DeAndre Hopkins making the most ridiculous catch I've ever seen in person. So I'm completely content with everything that happened on the defense side of the ball today. I feel like where they had the losses, they had that guy you can step in, and they kept the guys they should have kept.
Absolutely. No, and Reggie Nelson, of course, to give him anything more than 2 years at this point for the Bengals, with age and concern of how long he really has left. But at the same time, they gave 3 to Adam Jones, so they obviously see something there in terms of the training and their needs aspect that they didn't see with Reggie Nelson. Talk about Sean Williams for sure, but when you look at everything, the big question is now going to be: do you let Sean Williams run at free safety, or do you drop George Iloka to the free safety spot and move Sean Williams into that strong safety position? Stuff that we'll definitely see them play around with in OTAs and in training camp for sure.
Yeah, I break that down. So if you look at it this way, the losses are there. We know Reggie Nelson's not going to be there next year. We're about 96% sure Leon Hall's not going to be there, though I haven't heard of anyone that's made him any offers yet. Have you?
I haven't. You'll probably see him be a later pickup from a team, if not the Bengals, and I think he's going to have a lot of the aspect of tryouts and meeting with teams and having them physically watch him play. So he definitely is probably a 1, maybe 2 year contract for a team. I don't, at this point, think it's the Bengals, but at the same time, there was a lot of speculation that George Iloka would probably be going, to Minnesota before everything was said and done. So things happen. So
yeah, they do. So we're looking at this going in 2016. Tell me this doesn't sound awesome. Your 2 safeties being George Iloka and Sean Williams, and then your 3 corners being Adam Jones, Drake Kirkpatrick, and Darqueze Dennard. Yes, give that to me. I am all for that. And then you think about it, when you go to that 3rd safety of Darren Smith, a guy that, we've heard wonderful things about the coaching staff is so excited to see what he taps into. And then at corner, you have Josh Shaw, who, when his time came, he played really well. And you have Chris Lewis-Harris, who also, when his time came during the later part of the season, filling in for Leon Hall at nickel. In the playoff game, he had to step in for an injury. Played really well. So, the secondary depth's still there. I still think they're going to try to add another corner. But you got to be happy with what's on paper so far.
Absolutely no. To say that they won't go and get somebody in the draft would be, I don't want to say ridiculous, but would be definitely on the side of what are you talking about. But overall, I think the Bengals have set themselves up again on the defensive side of the ball to kind of play, the best guy wins at this point. And so, obviously wide receiver, they're going to have to address some of the needs there. Yes, I know, Tim, you're going to say his name. Go right ahead.
Will Fuller.
So, we know that they have a need there, but at the same time, it's not is that they can address that. We've talked about Will Fuller, we've talked about Malcolm Mitchell, we've talked about a few players who could come in and fill the role. Of course, they still have James Wright, who by the time by the time at least training camp rolls around, his PCL should be fully healed, and we should see him back to 100% on the field. It's just a matter of him mentally getting back.
Right.
And so, they have some options there, even behind AJ Green. Add a couple people in terms of draft, and this team is set again for heading into a new season.
Can we just hope we don't see Kobe Hamilton back? Like, can we just make sure that doesn't happen?
I'm not going to say that because we said that about Brandon Tate and we jinxed it.
Yes, but there's still not a guarantee Brandon Tate makes this team in camp.
Yeah, true, but that probably will take 2 receivers in the draft for that to happen.
Watch them pick up like Devin Hester.
That would be ridiculous. But again, we talk about Jeremy Curley and a few others that are out there.
I would kill to have Jeremy Curley on this team. I think he'd be outstanding.
He'd be a great number 3 for sure.
Yeah.
You're talking about somebody who, I think over 5 seasons, he has 2,200 yards. He has over 200 catches, 9 touchdowns. I'm just going off the top of my head from talking on Twitter today about it. A guy who can fill, Mohamed Sanu's part very well.
And, yeah. Who have his quarterbacks been? None of them as good as Andy Dalton.
No, so you got a quarterback that can throw and somebody who's got some decent speed, decent separation, read defense as well, and could be a good fit, but time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a few more minutes here before we go ahead and close this out. Let's talk about some of the other teams out there, things we like. So I think first things first, you can't talk about this free agency part without talking about the Miami Dolphins are doing, shoring up their secondary. Shoring up their defense, making the moves they are. Getting Super Mario is obviously a nice addition. How about the Jaguars, man? That's secondary now. That defense, I keep saying, you know what I mean? Adding those guys like they are, like getting Kiko Alonso in trade, getting Malik Jackson, holy moly, the things they're doing. That's, you got to be excited about that if you're a Jaguars fan, just seeing what they're adding there. DeMarco Murray getting traded to Tennessee. I think we a few weeks ago discussed the possibility of him going back to Dallas, and we thought that was going to be a good fit for him. Actually,
you thought that was going to be a good fit for him.
Yeah, I was going to say, your exact words were, he will not be an Eagle, but he will not be a Cowboy. So you got that right. I didn't. Fair enough. I'll give you that. And then, of course, the Houston Texans making some splashes today. I really, really like them getting Lamar Miller. I think he fits in really well there.
And for steal.
Yeah, they did. I absolutely hate what they gave Brock Osweiler. I hate that deal. If I were a Texans fan, I would be furious. Is he better than what you have? Sure. But for a guy who started 5 games, his last game he played in, if you remember, he had to be benched for no arm Peyton Manning, where he had 5 turnovers in 2.5 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And you just paid that guy $72 million.
I think they thought they had to. My thing is, I think when they put Peyton Manning back in and they took Brock Osweiler out, Brock Osweiler checked out of Denver. I think it was a mental thing. I think that he feels like he got gypped. So, and good for Houston for at least going and trying to improve their team. Bill O'Brien kind of on the hot seat this coming into this year. He's had a couple seasons to get adjusted to the NFL style, and of course, he came from, if I remember correctly, New England to Penn State.
Yeah.
So he's been in the game. He just hasn't been at the head coach level. So we were probably going to see him on the hot seat this year. Now he's got the tools, at least what looks like the tools to get something done past, just barely edging out the Indianapolis Colts and being the last team in type team. So if he doesn't get it done this season, where they are predominantly showing a huge improvement, his job might be in jeopardy this year. But kudos to them to at least get him the tools so that maybe he has a chance of producing a winning team. And I hate the deal too. I think the deal was, like Marvin Jones, I think it's overpaid, probably by a couple million a year there. But at the same time, they did it to improve the team for sure.
We talked about this last week. We even had an article. Like, this deal, just adds to my A.J. McCarron argument. Like, it just does. I mean, you got to think now, and I understand the whole idea of, you don't want to make a trade because you don't have a good backup. I mean, Matt Moore's about to sign with the Cowboys, it looks like, if that's the best the Cowboys are going to have backup Romo. But, man, I think that makes it a little more enticing.
And kind of on a Bengals weird update, Ladarius Green, tight end, has agreed to 4 years to replace what looks like Heath Miller in Pittsburgh. So somebody that the Bengals are going to face, but at the same time not totally on the same caliber as Heath Miller. So
he was criminally underused in San Diego, man.
That is true.
He is really good, so that's going to suck for 4 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's still not the same. Heath Miller brought an all-around game.
He did.
And I don't think Ladarius does. I think Ladarius is a receiving threat, but he can't block worth a lick, and that's something Heath Miller could do all day long.
Yep. I still take Eifert over Ladarius Green too.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just being odd. That's just being realistic.
I'd take Croft with McCarron in the backfield before I take Ladarius.
That's fair too.
So, but really quick too before we get out of here, who are the losers for this free agency?
Cleveland, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Well, first off, Philadelphia signed Sam Bradford for that extension, and then Doug Peterson's like, well, we're bringing in Chase Daniel, and he's going to compete for the job. And by the way, right now, I would take Chase Daniel over Sam Bradford. Just being honest. Not just because we share a last name. But, yeah,
oh, no.
I think that, they think there's fair there. Other losers you got to think out there. The Vikings, all these guys they wanted to sign, they're all going elsewhere. So,
like 3 guys to the Bengals.
Right, exactly. But if you had to pick one particular, it's got to be Cleveland, man.
Yep.
I mean, you lose Alex Mack, Travis Benjamin, Deshaun Gibson in a day. Yikes. And you didn't cut Johnny Manziel?
There is now rumors that because there's possibly some pending litigation against him, they are going to hold on to him in order to try to recoup some of the signing bonus.
Oh. Well,
so there may be strategy there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the loser case there. Other winners, we didn't even talk about the Giants. Holy moly.
Giants do well. Jason Pierre-Paul bringing him back for 1 year to see how that club hand does in year 2.
Yeah. You bring in Oliver Vernon. You bring in Janoris Jenkins.
Yep.
Man, that's gonna be fun. Can you imagine being at practice watching Odell Beckham versus Janoris Jenkins every day?
Odell Beckham eats him alive, but at least 8 out of 10 passes.
I don't know, man. Janoris Jenkins is pretty damn good.
Just remember, all you have to do is throw it over Jenkins behind Odell Beckham. He'll just reach back and get you with one hand, no problem.
Or hit you in the face while he's doing it.
True. No, what he'll do is he'll get an incomplete pass and then he'll just lunge at your head while you're on the ground.
Yeah. Classic. So anything when you expect tomorrow? Any moves you think is going to we're obviously seeing who's close and who's not close. I expect Mohamed Sanu leaves Atlanta with a deal.
Well, his camp is also put out there too that after Atlanta, his next stop will be New England.
We don't want that because we know what happens. Mohamed Sanu goes to New England, didn't catch a single touchdown for the Bengals last year. Probably catches 12 off Tom Brady next year. It's just how that works.
Yeah, but then we see Wes Welker and we go, oh yeah, him.
Yeah. I do expect the Broncos will probably sign a quarterback tomorrow. I don't know who. I don't know, maybe Jimmy Clausen at this point.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say there's a trade, and I'm gonna say that Colin Kaepernick is possibly the quarterback in at least going into the season to start for Denver.
So the Broncos went from one day, from the beginning of this week, having Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler on their roster to, are we going to get RG3 or Colin Kaepernick?
RG3, by the sound of it, may be following Brock Osweiler to Houston.
Oh, okay. I can see that as a good backup. That'd be a good place for him.
So, there's rumors of that going around.
Cool. Well, good for him, man. Make your money.
Absolutely.
Like Brock Osweiler. Go make your money.
Do they have any money left after that deal?
I don't know, because they're gonna have to get some more wideouts. I like Cecil Shorts, but there's no way he's gonna go in there and be a solid player for that team.
Plus, his name doesn't bode well for him, Shorts.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. So,
all right.
That was a nice thing there to do a recap. So, be sure to check out the Men in Stripes tomorrow as we get episode 5 up there for the world to see. Is it Sean doing it with you tomorrow?
Sean is doing it with me tomorrow, and then next week we'll have Matt.
Yeah. So I'll be gone for 2 weeks, but I'll still be writing, as always, because I never not writing anymore, it feels like. So, thanks again for tuning in. This is a Men in Stripes exclusive. Have a good one, everyone out there. I can't wait to talk more free agency and draft time, and hoo-day.
Hoo-day.